So let's take a look at how to do a CutFill map, or otherwise known as an isopatch map, inside of Business Center Heavy Civil Edition. In this project I have a finished ground or finished design surface as well as an original ground surface, and you can see, I should select over here, my original ground, and you can see it's cutting through my proposed ground. So I've got some cut areas and some fill areas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Surfaces tab, and on the Surfaces tab you'll see that I've got this CutFill Map section, and I got a CutFill Map command. Now you'll need a license of the Surface Tools or one of the modules or data prep or takeoff packs to actually initiate or use this command. You can have the Surface Tools module as well. But basically what we're going to do is come in here and we'll call it a CutFill overall, basically giving it a name for the CutFill surface, because it's going to generate a third surface from these other two surfaces. We'll pick our initial surface, we'll pick our final or finished design surface, and then we set our parameters and our settings. We can shade the map, label the grid, we can put the grid labels on its own layer, we can come down here and choose the text style, and then we can choose the text or the grid spacing. So if I want a 25-foot grid, I just put in 25 feet. I can choose the style for the grid, whether I want ticks or lines or none, and what the precision is. So if I want the precision to be to the 10th, I can select that here. I can also choose label surface elevations, and that'll put an elevation for the existing ground as well as the road ground surface along with the actual cut value. So when I select that and click OK, what's going to happen is it's going to build and create a surface for me. You can see down here it's working. And using the triangulation, I'm going to get a CutFill map. In this case, the blue is a fill and the red is a cut. If I zoom in, you can see that it's actually labeling the information with the value of 3.9 cut, and you can see the difference in elevation of the original ground surface to the proposed surface elevation. So that's the CutFill isopatch map, and now you can do some things. You can see it didn't show up in 3D because it's actually down here at 0. But what I can do is come in and modify it. So by selecting the surface in plan view here, you can right click and you can edit the color mapping, you can add a legend. I can go to properties. Under properties, I have the ability to change a lot of the properties of the CutFill map. I can come down here and drape it. So if I select yes to that, it will drape it onto my 3D view over here. So if I unselect it, you can see where it is. If I turn off the road site, you can see the areas of cut and fill in 3D. If I go back to the properties of it, I can come down and control some of the transparency. I can fade it so that it's not. I can see my line work behind it if I wanted to. So I can come in here and let's say we set it to a 50% transparency. You can see it kind of shades it out a little bit, so the information that may be behind it is a little bit easier to view, or it's a little bit subdued. I can come down and control how it's displayed in both views, as well as changing the appearance. So I can change the grid color line, the cut depth color, the daylight line color, the remnant elevation color as well. And I can change the text style or the ticks or the decimal precision. And I can turn off, if I don't want the elevations, I can turn that off. And you can see it's left with just the cut values. If I come back and I want to change the actual overall color of the site, or the map, the isopatch, I can come down here and, I can do that from edit color mapping, but the last thing I want to show you is you can change the grid spacing and the rotation of it if you wanted to. So my grid is going this method. If I wanted to change, let's say, the rotation so that it went more in this direction along the site, I could do that. You can see now it's changed the entire grid pattern for me. So again, just giving you a different look and feel. You can actually change the grid spacing. Maybe we wanted to do let's say 30 rather than 25, I could do that as well. So you can change that. You can also change the color mapping. So if I come up and edit the color mapping, I can come in here and change the swatch color and the elevation at where it starts and stops. You can see it's giving me a range here. You can save this out and reload it at another time, and you can insert actually specific elevations as well. So let's say I wanted to set this to, we'll go to green, and then we'll set this maybe to a little bit darker red, and when we click OK, what we'll see now is the area. You see some green up here and some little darker red down here. I think if we take off the transparency, you'll see it a little bit better. So if I come in and let's get rid of the transparency to 0, you can see where it's a little bit darker red down here, and I got some green in here, so it's showing me that those are the darker, maybe more fill in those areas, more cut in this area. So again, real quick, simple, easy to use CutFill Map, IsoPatch map. Now there's some other things that we can do. We can create an earthwork report, and with the earthwork report we can do stockpile depression, or we can do a surface to surface report where I can choose the original ground versus the road site, and when I click OK to that, it's going to give me basically a report with the value. So something that I can print off. You can see I've got cut fill material, I've got some numbers now, so I got an overall value of this site. So how much cut and how much material I'm going to have just as an overall from surface to surface. Now we do get a lot more detailed with Business Center to calculate that information by using the takeoff, where you can put in materials and site improvements as well, so you can determine how much sidewalk, asphalt, earthen material, stabilization material, so on and so forth is required on a particular site. So you can see that I can turn off those surfaces and turn them on as well. So a lot of things that you can do inside a Business Center. That's just a quick cut fill map using 2 surfaces.